Hello, and starting this summer Sonic off with a bang. Just want to turn the sound a bit. Starting this summer Sonic off with a bang, it's the video game Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow the Hedgehog was created and developed by, by at the time Sega Studio USA, which with Sega Studio USA, I'm just getting my notes here. Which at the time was the, as you might guess, the, let me just see here. Which at the time was essentially a, if I can find my notes here. Just feels the need to go into this. Anyway, was formed by, at the time, it was called Sega Studio USA, which was the United States of America USA division of Sonic Team, which started developing Sonic games, starting with Sonic Adventure 2. This game really likes to get into that, doesn't it? Anyway, at the time, it was called Sega Studios USA, it was first called Sonic Team USA in like 2003 and was called Sega Studios USA in 2004 at the time. But let me see if this game really likes to. Okay, there we go. Anyway, that's what it says on the Wikipedia page, which is, by the way, a featured article. But anyway, what is this game of? But anyway, let me get back to the point. It was called... I am not good with explaining things. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But... What do I... Sorry. Let me find this. Oh, right. During... let me just put it this way. At the time, just speaking, it was created by... I am not good with my words today, I'm sorry. But at the time, it was created by Sega Studios USA. Let me just put it that. Which was the United States division of Sonic Team, to put it better. It was formerly called Sonic Team USA during development of Sonic Heroes. But what is this game in particular? This game is a spin-off and sequel of sorts, or at least I call it a sequel due to it takes place a few months after Sonic Heroes. And normally that's what a sequel would be, is normally speaking, is a continuation after the events of a previous entry in the series. This being one of them. Sorry, I'm just mesmerized by the Wiki. Anyway. But anyway, I am not good with my words. Anyway, what is this game about? Well, this game takes a very big, different turn of sorts in the Sonic series. While previous entries were, well, a lot more good-natured in many ways, this game was, well, during development, someone during development stated that since they finally reaching out to the younger audience, they decided to focus a little more on the older audience. And also with the popularity of Shadow the Hedgehog, they decided to make a game about it. Also, and another thing you probably noticed already is guns. This game, one of the common criticisms of this game were controls, plot, its dark themes, and which pointing on particular guns, even though guns have been technically featured in the Sonic series, like Gamma in Sonic Adventure, There was also the shooting sections in Sonic Adventure 2. Not to mention Eggman holding Amy hostage with a gun in that one scene. Whatever. But yeah, this game puts a lot more focus on guns. Some fans very young fans, wanted Sonic to have a gun, or at least think of it. But they didn't want to give Sonic a gun, partly in reason why Gamma got a gun in the first place, to put a shooting section. And as such, eventually Shadow got the gun, because Sonic is basically all no weapons. Although in Sonic and the Black Knight he does wield a sword, but to my knowledge he's in a book slaying, to my current knowledge anyway, he was in a book, and also he was slaying demons or some mythical demons of sorts. So I guess that was, I don't know if that was an exception or a clever workaround, but anyway, what are my feelings about this game? Well, when I first played this game, I think I may have been 8 or so at the time of its release, and I believe I got it when it first came out. Honestly, the only thing that's intimidated me about that scene about this game was in that scene in the opening cinematic where Shadow looked really mad as he was about to pummel that one guy or something, like he was gritting his teeth. It was a thing about teeth with me, really. The redeads from Wind Waker. Oh my gosh. But speaking of which, this game was also the first Sonic game to be rated by the ESRB for an E10 rating. It was originally going to be a T rating, but it went to E10 upon discovery of the new rating. As such, all versions received certain censorship, such as less swearing. All swearing has been limited to less instances of swearing, and also less swears in general, like 2 swears in general are damn and hell. So they limited them to a certain extent. Also, there was, in that opening cutscene, there was apparently supposed to be a guy who got shot. There wasn't any blood, it was just a guy who got shot, but you would barely notice it. That was removed as well. That guy getting shot. There was also supposed to be an FMV, apparently, with Maria getting shot, but that was, you'll see later in the game, that just being a still image. So, and there was also one of the enemies called the Black Creatures, is what this game calls it, is, instead of red blood, which was originally the idea, it's more animated blood. It's more family-friendly cousins of sorts. That's essentially the primary amounts of censorship this game received to get an E10 rating. It doesn't sound like all that much, if you ask me, because that was largely it, really. But hey, maybe there were a lot more instances than I heard, because that's essentially the large amount of it. Anyway, let's start playing. Anyway, the reason why I'm playing this game, well, in this summer of Sonic, I want to focus a little more on more lower rated Sonic games, actually. So it's not like I'm just gonna start playing the first Sonic the Hedgehog ever, likely, because that game is already getting a lot of praise. I want to go for a game I feel is a little more underappreciated. In fact, I think on Wikipedia it used to say mixed. Now it kind of says generally unfavorable. Often I've seen this game be listed as one of the worst Sonic games ever. Almost, like, usually around number 2, with number 1 usually being, like, Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. But anyway, let's just continue. Okay, rumble, on. Okay. Dolby. Why not? Menu option. Okay, Dolby Pro Logic. Okay, sounds good. Anyway, also another thing that was kind of criticized was Well, one of the things that was advertised for this game was multiple endings. But however, apparently maybe how it was handled is what people didn't like because, well, I'll explain later how they're handled. But anyway, let's begin. I could do select, but as you can see, nothing was unlocked. Right, irritating, sorry. But anyway, we unlock stages and such in story mode, which would make sense. But as such, let's begin. As you can see, there's new continuing library. You start a story from the very beginning, you continue from where you left off. In library, I'll explain soon enough. But for now, let us begin.
Shadow the Hedgehog. Why does that name haunt me? It's the only thing I can remember. And that gruesome image. Maria! Who am I? And why can't I remember anything?
I turned up the,
Who is this Maria?
I turned up the volume a little, sorry, it was still a little toned down. My bad.
Look how pathetic they are. I don't have time for these humans.
Shadow. As you can see, the day of reckoning will soon be here. Find the 7 Chaos Emeralds and bring them to me as promised.
Huh? Who are you, and how do you know I'm Shadow? And what are you talking about? Just what was that all about? If he says he knows the truth about who I am, then like it or not, I have to believe him. The only way I'm gonna get the secrets to my past is to get those Chaos Emeralds.
I should have also mentioned, this is also the first Sonic game to utilize the new 4Kids voice actors, I should say. Also, you might have noticed there was a bit of out-of-place lip-syncing. That was one of the instances of Shadow saying hell, actually.
Promise time. Time to go and fulfill this promise.
Man, the component capabilities things look good. Going up. Anyway, as you could have seen what that green pad was, that's a warp pad. If you, there are multiple ones of them throughout the stage. If you activate one by standing on it, and then you make it available to use when you stand on it, and press the X button press the X button while on it, and then it'll give you a prompt to give you which warp pad you want to go to. You press A on that particular warp pad and you will be warped. It's usually a case when I usually would use it if I were to, like, be at the end of the stage and need to go back to a previous segment. And as you can see, this game introduces a morality system. Well, I'll show later.
The B button lets me attack. The X...
Hey, Shadow. Long time no see. Looks like these black creatures really mean business. Let's show them a finger. Don't touch the red fruit.
Anyway. Oh, sorry.
Number of enemies in the upper right-hand side of the screen. Let's go get them all.
Anyway, as you may have noticed, a bit of a bar comes up after you do it. Let me explain a few things I want to explain right now, I might as well. If you're doing a hero mission and you want to intend to do a hero mission, then I would suggest doing so. Because if you don't, if you're like doing both like a lot of bad things and you complete a hero mission, like if you're
There
if
should
you're
be.
Let's show the black creatures that we mean business.
anyway, if you do the evil missions, I mean, if you're like doing a lot of bad things and you intend to do the good mission, you're gonna get a bad score because yeah, the developers, they kind of would have seen that. So what they did was, if they basically subtract any good score, any amount of good score you earned will be subtracted by amount of bad score. So if you completed a good mission and vice versa. As for normal missions, they only take time and rings. So I just suggest getting to the goal ring, and that's usually what they are. Typically, is just getting to the goal ring. So I would just suggest getting to it as fast as you can. And story route. Hero missions generally take you downwards, normal generally take you straight forward, and evil will take, and I mean dark, my bad, will take you upwards. And so basically, if you're doing a good mission, stick to good and do as little as evil as possible. Evil things such are usually doing the opposite of the good, and also destroying any destructible terrain that's your fault. Like, if you destroy the destructible terrain, it'll count towards your evil. But if, like, some giant death beams destroy things, it does not count because it wasn't you. Alright, and you might have noticed the key symbol. Before I forget, if you notice in the upper right and left corners of the screen, there's a little bar. Each bar, if you fill it up enough, it'll allow Shadow, or if you collect a giant glowing orb of the respective color, it will fill up Shadow's meter completely, allowing him to do chaos control, which propels him very fast and furious throughout the stage. It damages any enemy that Shadow is near, but not by much. But you'll be flying throughout the stage very quickly, whereas the upper left hand is called Chaos Blast. It's a highly destructive, it does a lot of damage, but it has no mobility whatsoever. So yeah, no mobility whatsoever, but it is very destructive. And last but not least, I would like to explain, well, I should mention that, needless to say, time is very important, regardless of it's a normal mission or not. So keep that in mind. Time is important, so I wouldn't recommend taking 10 minutes. Except for one mission in particular, but I'll get to that soon enough. At some point, anyway. And, last but not least, also interesting...
There should be a Chaos Emerald somewhere in this city.
As you have noticed, I changed...
Let's show the black creatures that we mean business.
As you may have noticed, I got rid of Sonic there for a moment. That is because, well, even though, let me be crystal clear here. You can have these guys here as long as you want, but they don't change the overall outcome of the mission. It's basically whatever mission you complete. Like, for example, they want you to defeat the black creatures. If you defeat all the black creatures, you will automatically clear the mission and such be taken downwards respectively. But even still, you don't need Sonic here, or Black Doom, as we'll see, to do that. You can just have it on normal and have Shadow when on normal, Shadow's essentially saying all the hints. You'll hear his commentary. Also, an attention to detail is if you're, like, for example, attacking the humans and you're like Sonic, who is against attacking the humans, he will say, "Hey, don't do that." Likewise with Black Doom, who will say, "You," which will be a similar "don't do that" or something like that. And of course, they'll also praise you if you're like, "Hey, you're doing great destroying those black creatures." Sonic will say something like that. And likewise with Black Doom. With Shadow, he'll say nothing really, as he's defeating enemies. Anyway, last but not least is the keys. The keys aren't super important, but they carry over from Sonic. Well, carrying over from Sonic Heroes are the keys. They look pretty much the same as from Sonic Heroes, not to mention that this game is made on the same engine as Sonic Heroes, the renderware engine, but unlike Sonic Heroes, these keys serve a purpose. You see, every stage has a secret door and 5 keys. You collect the 5 keys to open a secret door. Secret doors will range from alternate paths to just hidden goodies. So, it's not necessary, but it certainly never hurts to try. Anyway, continue with the action.
Come on! Press the A button again while jumping to hit enemies using the homing attack. They don't give up!
Also,
Hey, Shadow! That's one of the Chaos Emeralds! With that Chaos Emerald, you can unlock unlimited power!
Also, an interesting note I should point out is that you can actually do multiplayer, even though you can do multiplayer, there's a 2-player mode, you can also do multiplayer on the PS2 and GameCube versions of this game during story mode, actually, with, like, the hero characters. I don't think you can do, I believe you cannot do it with Black Doom, just with certain hero characters, just with most of the hero characters. But for some reason, it wasn't introduced in the Xbox version for some reason. But anyway, Doom's Eye. Doom's Eye does nothing to help you with defeating enemies, but it just floats around. I might say a lazy eye, but anyway.
There should be a Chaos Emerald somewhere in this city.
But yeah. Needless to say, if Shadow touches like a human or a black creature or any other enemy, but if Shadow touches any sort of enemy, like, you can intend to side yourself with any alliance you want in this game, but that's not going to change them from wanting to hurt you or anything. So if you're like still intending to do a good mission, and you touch a human or such, Shadow will get hurt. But an interesting mechanic for this game, I think starting with this game in the Sonic series, is that every time Shadow gets hurt, instead of losing all the rings he has on him, he just loses 10 rings. I don't know why they added that mechanic, but hey, I'm not complaining. It's kind of neat. I guess it makes Shadow look like he has some form of endurance, whereas previously, if you have rings, any amount of rings, and you don't have any bubble of a sort to protect you, you will lose essentially all your rings and be limited to just limited to just 20, or at least that in the Sonic Adventure games, or at least Sonic Adventure 2 that I know of.
With good and evil deeds, my blue and red gauges fill up, giving me ultimate powers.
I need to learn to get control of this camera. I cannot change the camera options.
There should be a Chaos Emerald somewhere in this city. I'm sensing an intense aura coming from that
Death to all who oppose me!
Oops.
I can swap the weapon by pressing the X button.
So there's our taste of, you know,
What the heck are they?
you know, Chaos Blast.
Chaos Blast!
Press the Y button to use. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to do good and evil to fill up the gauge, but that's usually the thing to level up the gauge is doing good and evil deeds. Like if you're doing enough good, it'll fill up the chaos gauge. If you do enough evil, it'll fill up the dark gauge. Those orbs, while you can use them and they're put in interesting areas, they are not necessary. They're just there in case you feel like you want to increase your bar instantly. That's what they do. And I forgot if I mentioned this. I don't think I mentioned this before, actually. You cannot, like, fill both up at the same time. Like, you've noticed during that Dark Age with Chaos Blast, while I was destroying some black creatures, while some of the score may have increased, it did not increase the gauge. So it's not like you're going to do some chaos blast, chaos control combo, although I can imagine how that would be and it would look actually rather neat, but whatever. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense if you think about it. So they don't want to have some code breaking thing or something in this game. Code breaking thing. They want to keep it fair. I mean, they want to keep it more standardized. I don't know what to say. Just, you know what I mean. They want to keep it... I guess they just don't want to mix the two together and create something awesome, or maybe that's not it. They probably would have thought that would be awesome, but it wouldn't make sense, especially if you want to, do good, you want to stick with good. Chaos Blast, while it's neat, it can destroy everything in the vicinity and rack up some dark points, so that's probably why.
Man, no matter how many, they just keep coming. Shadow, give me a... If I was a blue or red gauge, press the Y button to use one of your special moves. Power adjustment lets you use the teleport using chaos control. Fueled by evil, though, you'll be able to release and destruct the chaos blast.
I was running along walls. I'll explain that mechanic later. Also, if you're destroying anything that's black creature related, generally speaking, that will raise the chaos control gauge. But I should mention that just because the gauge is full doesn't mean you have to necessarily use it. Although an interesting note though is, even though you don't have to use it, regardless of which gauge you fill up, you will be invincible. That means anything that can hurt you, except instant death of course, won't hurt and or kill you. And you'll also have unlimited ammo for some reason. So that's neat. So you don't have to utilize the powers necessarily, but the powers are useful if in case you want to use them.
Yes! Awesome! Fine!
Key! Woo! Ow.
Halfway there!
The ultimate power!
See? Whoops. Sorry.
Take off,
I think in the uncensored version, I think Sonic would have said pissed off gun. That's probably one of the... I don't know that for certain. I think I've just read that somewhere. But that's probably one of the more better examples of censoring out, I should say, lessening down the uses of profanity. So there's that.
There must be some kind of device that'll open up this cage.
Yeah, if you basically switches, if you touch them, they'll activate.
Yeah, smash them up.
Yeah, as you can see, Sonic encourages this. There's a key button, I'm not getting it yet. Yeah, if you press the B button while in the air and have a gun, you'll be doing an air attack, which will basically, Shadow will be using his air shoes to fly in the air. To hover in the air. Technically, he never uses it to fly in this game, but at the very least, he hovers in the air. So if you press the shoot button while in the air, during like the apex, like during when you're ascending with a jump, Shadow will do that. Yep. Anyway.
Pressing the X button while without the save point teleports you to other save points you found.
Yep, there's Sonic explaining the thing. Do this!
Press the X button to grab hold of the bottom. Lift it up. You can change your mission character anytime by going to the pause menu.
Yeah, like what I just explained.
Looking at that fire will increase your hero gauge a bit. To put the fire out, try attacking nearby.
If you get hurt while trying to put out, if you get hurt but you put out the fire anyway, that will actually not increase your hero gauge. You have to like slide or spin dash into it.
Take this! When you pick up a special weapon, you'll be able to use the containers to hold them.
Special weapons are unlocked after you complete. Every time you complete another unique ending, Shadow will, I believe another unique ending anyway, Shadow will unlock a new, either a new weapon or an increase on that weapon.
Press the X button to use your light dash skills for real rings.
I had no idea they were skills. Usually in Sonic Adventure 2 and in Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, you needed an item for your shoes, but I guess it just became standard ever since. Oh, and yeah, every time you pause and unpause the game while a character is talking, that's actually cutting them off for some reason. I don't know why they did that. Oh, and yeah, just like regular Sonic, every time you encounter a checkpoint of sorts with a specific amount of rings, how many rings you have that corresponds to the particular reward, Shadow will get.
Behold the ultimate power!
5 keys to open that door. Better go find them. Hop on and go for a ride. Use the A button to accelerate. Steer using the control stick. Just a few more. Give it your best shot.
This power feels like that.
The entire city's on fire!
Just running into things.
Most of the citizens have been evacuated.
A vehicle is usually most helpful when you have a weapon on you. Otherwise, you're just running them over. Also, every vehicle can only sustain a certain amount of damage, so it's not like you can just run into everything and it'll be alright. No, they can only sustain a certain amount of damage, so keep that in mind. Don't run into things.
I repeat, this is not a drill. What are these black things?
Whoa!
Not bad. I repeat, this is not a drill. Yeah, smash them up. Hey, Shadow, there are still some black creatures left to take out.
If I grab that gold ring now, that'll instantly treat it as if I did
There
the
should
normal.
be
There
should be a Chaos Emerald somewhere in this city.
Anyway, if I were to grab that Chaos Emerald now, it would treat it as if I did the normal mission. So, yeah, I can have, like, the good or bad on anytime I want, or I can be normal but do good missions, but really, and bad missions, but really it depends on which mission I complete. It doesn't depend on if these character assistants are here or not. It just matters which mission you cleared. Ah, jeez. Why'd they put the key there? Especially with damaging copper plates. Damaging copper plates!
Decided to pay us another visit. Let's show them a good time.
Oh dear. I need to start over. Yeah, great start, guys.
Promise time. It's time to go and fulfill this promise.
Anyway, time to get to the main point.
Lets me attack. The X button.
Hey, Shadow. Long time no see. Black people really mean business. Let's you and me show them the fingertips. The number of enemies defeated is in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Press the A button again while jumping to hit enemies using the homing attack. Look out! Hey,
Whoops.
Shadow! It's one of the Chaos Emeralds.
Yes, you noticed that. He was all like, don't do that!
There should be a Chaos Emerald somewhere in there.
Let's show the black creatures that we mean business. Defeating the black creatures will make your blue gauge fill up and let you use your superpowers.
Death to all who oppose me!
Why Sonic doing?
Yeah, smash them up! To swap your weapon for another weapon that's on the ground, just press the X button.
Which is why Shadow's wielding the weapon and not Sonic. Whoops.
Hey, not bad! Check out what's around you by moving the C-stick. Laser strikes cause explosions, so stay clear of them, too. Yeah, smash them up! If either blue or red is filled up, press the Y button to use one of your special moves. The power of justice lets you use a teleport using chaos control. If you're fueled by evil, destruction of chaos.
Behold the ultimate power!
You can start over from there and get thrashed. Stay back! Let's run along that fallen cliff. Take off the homing attacks on those robots is the only way past.
Not necessarily, but whatever.
Wonder where to go. Red crews all over the place. Let's smash them all up. Watch out for the lasers coming from above. Woo! Pressing the X button while atop a save point will teleport you to other save points you've touched. Press the X button to grab hold of the bottom, and then you can change your mission variable.
Oh. Oops. Sorry.
That fire will increase your hero rage a bit. To put the fire out, try attacking nearby. Press the X button. Use your light gun skills to near rings. I don't know who or what these black creatures are, but you can't let them get away with
this. Behold the ultimate power.
The entire city's on fire. I can't get alive.
If you're, by the way, shooting before you jump, that's what will happen. You'll be shooting while jumping, basically. While regular jumping, that is.
Been evacuated. I feel so sorry for them. Man, what the heck is HQ doing? Just what are these black creatures?
I find it funny that even Sonic can get hurt by the humans, even though he's on their side, clearly. Even though he's clearly on their side.
Hey, Shadow! There are still some black creatures left to take out!
Whee!
Those monsters are out of control!
Do I have to destroy that thing? Oh, there goes my ammo.
Looks like our guests have decided to pay us another visit. Let's show them.
Ow.
There's just one. Use this and go back. That's all of them.
And that's like that. Defeat. And that's an example. And you'll also, like, clear...
Disgusting black creatures. Get out of my sight.
I might as well explain this. The first run is going to be all heroes. Probably should mention that. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Yeah, also the color-coded system returns as, like, how it was in Sonic Adventure 2. Like, all the B's will be red and the A's will be pink. In Sonic Heroes, the A's were red and the B's were orange, but the rest were the same as in Sonic Adventure 2.
The black aliens have hit 6 major cities around the world, and every city is reporting significant damage and casualties. Among them, Westopolis has received the heaviest casualties due to its weakened defense system. Downtown Westopolis has been almost completely destroyed. Unconfirmed sources have also reported seeing a black hedgehog in Westopolis.
Shadow? Deploy the troops now! And if you find Shadow with the black aliens, then kill them all.
But sir, isn't Shadow on our
I
side?
gave you an order, soldier. He's evil and he's the enemy.
This cutscene plays
You
regardless.
can't fool me, Shadow. This time, you're mine.
I believe this cutscene plays regardless of good or bad or normal, really. But the next one will be certainly good. Quick loading. And... that was fast.
Now that was sweet, Shadow.
Yeah. Well, I'm not here to save you.
Thought you might say something like that. How about a little friendly competition?
Don't waste my time.
We found the 3rd Chaos Emerald in this city. Our mission here is done. Now get going.
Guess that means welcome to the next level. Let's go!
Get back here.
As soon as Jason Griffith is done talking with himself, because yeah, he's essentially at this point in the Sonic video games. Although he voiced Sonic previously in the 4Kids adaptation of localization of Sonic X in 2003.
I just got...
this was like I mentioned previously, this was the very first Sonic video game to feature the 4 kids voice actors. As technically they've started voicing Sonic and Friends in the 4 Kids' take on Sonic X in 2003, but this is when they also started doing the same year, like when Sonic Heroes was released, and a few more Sonic games were released then in like 2004. I think a few were just Game Boy Advance games, but anyway, they were Game Boy Advance games, at least largely, but anyway, sorry, I'm just thirsty. Anyway, but this is like mentioned previously, this was the very first Sonic game to feature the 4 Kids voice cast. Anyway, continue. And, like again, good will take you, or in this case it'll take you straight, technically speaking, but since there's no normal mission, if you do the evil, which is essentially, in this case, get to the end of the stage and get the Chaos Emerald.
Smash their tank.
Withdraw from the city.
I will talk like Darth Vader. I am ripping them off.
Smash their tank.
That was brief. Anyway, I don't know if they thought, hey, Darth Vader sounds like a good voice. Let's rip him off. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say rip him off, because that's a bit of a negative connotation, but let's base him off of Darth Vader. That's a lot more nice. I was pressing A. I have to press the start button. My bad.
Shadow, my soldiers have already secured this city means nothing.
Shadow, where have you been, Slowpoke? Looks like the black creatures turned tail and ran.
I find it funny Sonic defeated that guy now.
Look, for another weapon that's on the ground. Don't waste time shooting at the black creatures with shields. Take them out using homing attacks.
Yeah, any time you see an enemy with a shield, you use a homing attack. To at least remove the shield.
Swap your weapon for another weapon that's on the ground. Just press the X button. Personally, I wouldn't be caught dead using those things.
Just want to hear it.
The black creatures with shields. Take them out using homing attacks.
My OCD gets the best of me.
I just gotta keep moving.
Shadow, my soldiers have secured this city is nothing to us now.
Shadow, where have you been, Slowpoke? Looks like the black creatures have turned tail and ran. Let's follow their vehicle and finish what we started.
I need to start over again. I get a lot of lives. Still I'm not even gonna collect those things.
My soldiers have already secured.
Shadow, where have you been, Slowpoke? Looks like the black creatures have turned tail and ran. Let's follow their vehicle and finish what we started. Yeah, smash them up! There it is. That's their lead tank. Look out! Smash them up! It's one of the black creatures. Hey, not bad. The tank's barrier seems to be deflecting bullets.
Essentially, what they want you to do with this mission is essentially hurt it enough until it has no more. Essentially, just keep attacking it. That's the most simplistic I can tell you. Keep attacking until it breaks. That is.
Watch out, Shadow! Sections of the roadway are being destroyed by those black creatures' burns!
Don't worry, not all of them are... Don't worry, they're not instant death pits. They just put you at lower areas. Going down.
Why is Stern after us now? Shadow, what did you do?
I didn't do anything.
Just jump as high as you can and hold on to the
don't hurt me.
Gun force is taking it to throw this at someone. Their wounds are instantly healed.
It basically heals it. Like this.
Forward. I'm in your debt. Hey, not bad. Spin on top of that red slime by pressing the X button. Spin on.
And just like Sonic Heroes, the helper character appears out of nowhere despite you... can appear out of nowhere despite even at times you can get ahead of them very much. Okay, nothing. The camera's inverted or something.
Excited. You were red gauge. Spin up. Press the Y button to use one of your special moves. The power of justice lets you use the teleport using chaos. Hey, watch out! Those red gauge are poisons. Man, I thought we lost them, but I think we can still catch up. Let's go. Whoa, try going down there. Those robots can stir up waters. Jump over them and get out of the way.
I'll take this.
Hop on, go for a ride, Shadow. Woo! Shadow, try grabbing onto that horizontal bar.
Or just going through. Fine, I'll take this. Let's go. Hot rod. Hot wheel. Not a very durable car.
Yeah, smash him up.
I really hate the lack of stuff. Especially lack of a weapon.
Don't let them out of the city alive.
Sorry, I needed your weapon. Let's do that thing.
This is the ultimate power.
Damage to it. Should be able to get through.
Yeah.
Yes, we did it!
Sonic, are you okay? Anyway, I just want to keep playing.
I won't allow them to do what they want to anymore.
Anyway, hero score. I think normal score helps. Those sexy pink A's.
Perfect.
Those sexy hot pink A's. They returned from Sonic Adventure 2. For some reason in Sonic Heroes, the A's were red like how a B was in Sonic Adventure 2, and the B's were orange, and yet this was reverted back the same in this game for some reason.
Hand over that Chaos Emerald, or else.
So, think you have a chance against me, do you?
Look, I don't take orders, especially from you. But I'm not here to fight you either. I'm collecting the emeralds to find my own answers, so why don't you just back off?
You still don't know your place, do you? Black Bull, I summon you! Behold, the wrath of Black Arms!
Woohoo! Now we're talking. Bring it on.
Sonic always ready for a fight.
Come, Black Bull, burn this entire city and its inhabitants to hell.
Check you out, big guy. Let's have some fun.
Anyway, we're dealing with our first mini-boss. Depending on which stage you end up entering, also, regardless if we did Black Doom's mission or Sonic's mission, we'd still be finishing, we'd still be fighting this boss, so make note of that. In fact, it really matters every time you end up in this stage. Some stages have their own mini-boss, but the mini-bosses are relatively easy to deal with, really, but Then again, mini-bosses aren't supposed to be the hardest thing in the world, to be fair, so there's that. But certain stages have mini-bosses. Not all stages have mini-bosses, so make note of that.
That's it! It's working! The eye is its weak point! That monster can spit out those little bird creatures. Use its little pets against them.
This is what I like to do. Okay, be careful when you're standing there.
Nice job, Shadow.
Ow.
Yeah! You'll kick this thing. That looks like the body seems immune to most attacks. We need to find out its weak spot. Hey, not bad.
Do ya?
It's not dead yet. Keep going.
I'm invincible. I don't care for this. Oh.
Nice job, Shadow. You can use your homing attack to attack repeatedly in the air.
And that's arguably one of the best ways to deal with that boss.
Out of my way, alien monster.
Still as good as I remember. Don't remember the camera.
Perfect.
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about the camera, and it's not horrible. But I guess it could get some use to, I will admit. This loading time is oddly fast, really. No one really talks about the loading times here.
Mr. President, we've received a report from the Central Information Agency. Our ground troops have successfully pushed back the black aliens from Westopolis. We've also managed to suppress enemy forces in 5 other cities. There's also reports that the CIA's mainframe has been compromised. We're investigating the incidents now. It is a strong possibility that this was also committed by the black aliens.
Tell the commanding generals that the United Federation will never surrender to terrorists.
Yes, Mr. President.
This planet was once saved from tyranny and annihilation by you 2 heroes. Now mankind must protect this peace at all costs. We must stand united to defend our world against these invaders.